All right, what's going on, DC? Thanks for having us. As David mentioned, I'm Jack. I'm the CEO of Strike, and I'm joined by the one and only Paolo, CEO of Tether and CTO of Bitfinex. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. Thank you very much, Jack. And I'm very grateful to be here. This is my first time in America. So I'm very thrilled to be here.
First react. How do you like our seed oils? A little red 40? Kidding. All right. I think we need to give our nation's capital a little context on your business.
Sure.
I know everyone sees the profits and the profits per employee, very impressive, but some of the numbers, I run a business myself, 400 million wallets, so 400 million users, you're adding 30 million users a quarter, which for simpler math, that's 10 million a month. Simpler math, that's over 250,000 a day. Who are you selling your product to? And what product are you selling that's reached? I mean, these are numbers that would make a social network like Twitter and X blush. And you're selling a financial service. Who is using this product, and what product exactly has reached such widespread product market fit?
Right. Yeah. So everyone talks about stable coins with the US Act, right? So in the US, you would use stable coins for payments and programmable money and all that, right? There is a lot of talk. I think tomorrow there is a hearing about that. But that is cool. That is very nice tech. The reality is that stable coins are much more important for billions of people that differently than compared to Americans or Europeans. These people, these communities don't have other ways to pay. In the US, you can pay with Zelle, with PayPal, you have Cash App, you have hundreds of ways to pay. But if you go in, for example, in Africa, in Central South America, in Turkey, in Asia, there are hundreds of millions of people that are unbanked, right? 3 billion people in this world, so almost half of the population does not have access to financial services. They use mobile money with the phone credit, they use cash and all that, but they are not part of the digital economy at all. They cannot send wires. They are completely cut off. They are not bad people. Their only problem, if you want to call it problem, is that they are too poor of being of interest of banks. So in order to be of interest of a bank, you need to generate $100, $150 per year in commissions. But if, for example, in Haiti, the average salary is $1.34 per day, it makes it very hard for you to be banked. And on the other side, also the other part is that these people live in high inflation countries where, for example, Turkey, the inflation last year I think was 50%, and the national currency, the Turkish lira, devaluated 80% against the US dollar in the last 5 years. And for example, the peso argentino devaluated 98% against the dollar from the last default of the country. So, and every time in the last 8 years, Argentina, for example, defaulted many times. So put yourselves in the shoes of someone that every single decade was in a country that defaulted, or basically you may put yourself in the shoes of a father of family in Turkey that works from January to December, and at the end of the year, after 1 year of hard work, is poorer compared to the beginning of the year, right? So this is our user base. So hundreds of millions of people that need a dollar because their national currency is very bad, cannot allow them to give a better future to their children, and they don't want to speculate. They don't want to buy all the altcoins and all that. They just need a dollar, simple like that. So Tether in 2014 Tether is the creator of the stablecoin, the first stablecoin, this technology, and at the beginning, we thought, oh, well, this will be a $100 million market cap token, and now it's almost 143 billion, and it is growing rapidly. And sounds crazy, but Tether is the company that brought financial freedom and financial inclusion to hundreds of millions of people. I don't want to be or sound cocky or disrespectful, but we heard so much about financial inclusion, that was important and all that. This is the financial inclusion is the topic of the 21st century. But I believe there is no company, I mean, we are not an NGO, we are not a charity. Well, there are so many NGOs and charities that raise so much money to do financial inclusion, and we don't see them anywhere in the countries where we are. We did much more for financial inclusion with hundreds of millions of people than anyone else in the world. And while we are doing that, we are buying back the US debt. So right now we have around $115 billion of US treasuries. We are not a country, we are a small company, we are a small Tether. But if we were a country, we would be the 18th country in terms of ownership of US debt. So, and if you think about it, we also put the U.S. debt. We make the U.S. debt much more resilient, so that right now, for example, you had one single decision maker in China that 3 years ago he had control over almost $3 trillion of U.S. debt, and now instead they decided to sell a good chunk of it, and now there is China has only 770 billion in U.S. debt, and with the USDT, that cannot happen, right? So we are, every one of our 400 million users is a different brain, is a different mind, is a different person. So they will, all these 400 million people will not wake up one single day all together thinking, oh, now let's redeem Tether and so we can sell the US debt. No. So we decentralized the US debt, we make them more resilient. We are every single day with our boots on the ground building infrastructure for the US dollar and Bitcoin, by the way, everywhere in the world. So everywhere we go, we bring Bitcoin and we bring the US dollar, we do education, and we are in the trenches. I mean, we never approach a financial institution around the world. We never started top down. We always go bottom up. We build kiosks in Africa with solar panels on top. Inside you find batteries, and we sell subscriptions to people in Africa for 3 USDT per month. So they can swap these batteries 4 times. We have already 300,000 customers and several million swaps of these batteries. So this is how there are 600 million people in Africa that don't have electricity at home. So on one side, we're building infrastructure for electricity so that they can power smartphones, they can power small computers and small televisions with these 145 volts batteries. But on the other side, we also bring them and teach them about Bitcoin and US dollar. That is something that, of course, they prefer much more than, for example, the Nigerian Naira. So this is every single day we are in the trenches, building the biggest distribution network, physical and digital, for US dollars, but not only for that, for Bitcoin, for education, and for any other product that our company is producing or will produce in the future.
Yeah, amazing. I think there's a few things you said there I want to highlight. One is who your customer is. You're talking about African countries, Latin American countries. These is like where you're seeing a lot of the growth. What I find fascinating is I think Tether's largely misunderstood, I would say, because it's not competing with Chase Bank. I think a lot of the times you see these headlines by certain media that maybe have it wrong, and that you guys are going after entirely different customers. In fact, Chase can't have 400 million customers. There's not 400 million Americans. So I think that is what's fascinating. And hearing Scott Bessent of the U.S. Treasury say in a recent remark that he views stablecoins as strategic in his plans for the dollar. In the way I think that you guys are onboarding, an Argentine cab driver onto the dollar, onto being a purchaser of U.S. debt at such a scale that you're comparable to countries. Can you talk to who do you think your true competition is? Who's competing for your customer and how you are selling the dollar and onboarding folks into bringing demand for U.S. debt? And can you comment on Bessent's remarks and that he views stablecoins, which you guys are the majority of, if not the entire market, how he views that as strategic? How do you think you're strategic to America, and who do you view as a true competitor? Would you agree that Chase Bank, as it stands today, is a great business, but not necessarily competing for the same customers and selling the same product as you?
Yeah, good point. So of the 400 million customers that we have, I think Chase will onboard 4, not 4 million, but 4, just because, again, our people are simple people, poor, live in foreign countries. They cannot buy securities. They don't care about it. Their immediate problem is how they can, for the first time in their lives, they can start saving and accruing some wealth to give a better future to their children. So this is our user base. And all alone, like taking one by one. Of course, they are small, they are hard to become a business, but if you have hundreds or millions of them, they become a powerhouse. It's a peer-to-peer powerhouse of wealth that can altogether can make the difference, and hence also make a difference for the U.S. debt. I think that the the importance of this moment in time is much bigger than I think many understand. So we all saw what happened with DeepSeek and AI. So the US had a DeepSeek moment for artificial intelligence. So when I say DeepSeek moment means the US announced $500 billion in investment in artificial intelligence infrastructure. The next day, DeepSeek was announced, the next day. So it was clear that DeepSeek was already in the pockets and was there waiting for the right moment to be announced. Imagine, and that was bad, all the markets react badly, and actually it's going to change, I think, dramatically how artificial intelligence will be developed, because now you know that if you try to be too close, if you try to do, if you create your own models, you don't disclose them, someone else, like a small company in China, can build the model, open source it, and will kill completely your business. But leave that aside. It's clear that there are antagonists, for example, to the United States, and they will look for a DeepSeek moment for the US dollar hegemony, and that will come. So we have to be prepared for it. Few years ago, um, BRICS announced a digital currency based on a basket of assets. And pardon me my French, but if you put many little pieces of shit together, you cannot make chocolate. I'm sure that the headline on the Wall Street Journal will be Ardoino starts swearing in the US. But now they realized that, and then they started thinking, okay, what is better than that the basket of national currency will be a gold-backed digital currency. And if you see what happened, or what is happening now, is that every single BRICS nation is buying incredible quantities of gold. China is buying infinite amount of gold, India the same, and many other central banks in BRICS countries. So they are preparing to launch an attack to the US dollar. I don't have any doubt about it. If you go everywhere, BRICS nations are buying, if you go in all the emerging markets in Africa, also in Central and South America, BRICS nations are creating infrastructure, they are creating airports, ports, highways, schools, libraries, everything. So as soon as, I believe that if Tether fails, if USDT will not be there in 10 years, I mean, I think that USDT and Tether is the stronghold for US dollar hegemony in all these countries, because we are alone there, right? So there is only us, and on the other side you have countries, a group of countries very determined to de-dollarize the world. And so that's quite interesting, because we are a small company. We are 150 people. Like, people look at our balance sheet, our profits, and all that, right? But it's very challenging. It's very interesting. It's very fascinating. I wouldn't do anything else in my life. I think that is one of the most interesting things I could do.
Yeah, I think, my interpretation of Besant's comments were, and this administration at large is trying to empower the private sector. They want to get regulation off of everyone's back. They want people to build. The way I think of Tether is, again, maybe I'm oversimplifying, but you're onboarding an Argentine cab driver as to be a purchaser of US debt. It's beneficial to the United States. It's beneficial to the consumer. They clearly love this product. And it seems that the US government recognizes the mutual relationship that you guys have, which I found fascinating, and it's very in line with this administration of let the private sector build, let people solve problems. Clearly, Tether's been very successful at being very efficient with 150 people making $14 billion a year. Did I get that right? 13.7, right?
13.7, yes.
Rounding error. So I found those comments interesting, which brings me to our last question. We got a few minutes left. I've known you a long time. We both been in Bitcoin forever, for a decent amount of time. Where's Bitcoin tie into all this? What do you make of the strategic Bitcoin reserve, given this new administration's comments about stablecoins and them validating and asserting this neutral asset as a reserve asset globally. What do you think? And I mean, Tether is one of the largest holders of Bitcoin. You guys hold Bitcoin in your reserves. What do you make of the SBR and how the United States can use both Bitcoin and stablecoins?
Well, also as a Bitcoiner myself, it's it's tricky, right? Because on one side I'm going around and really promoting the U.S. dollar, and on the other side we are also promoting Bitcoin a lot. And the tricky part is that when we go to a person in Africa or in Central South America, they have more immediate problems, so they always seek the U.S. dollar compared to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a superior product. Is the only currency that is governed by math, that will resist to the wrath of God, and that's something that is not controllable by humans, so that makes it safe for eternity. Now, um, people are having immediate problems, and also it's important to ensure that the United States remain a safe and sound economy, and the dollar remains a very trusted currency everywhere in the world, because the alternative will be much worse. Sometimes you have to pick, the best option, not the perfect option. And so what we are doing is actually with Tether, with our profits, we built our strategic Bitcoin reserves ourselves. So we have around 100,000 Bitcoin ourselves. And on the other side, I think that the fact that the US government acknowledged the importance of Bitcoin is incredible. I think that every other countries will follow. Every other country we should follow. I've been good friends with the president of El Salvador. Actually, Jack Mallers is the person that actually started the movement in.
A little casual introduction, no big deal. Hey, you guys should meet.
And so this is a moment in time where I think in the next and for the next 20 years, um, the new global financial system will be reshaped. And I think that in the past, humanity was using gold. Now it's clear and clear that Bitcoin is the right way to do so, because then imagine trying to transport gold or gold from one country to another. Bitcoin is the way, and now I think that there was an announcement. There will be a strategy that will be not too public to acquire bitcoins, because otherwise, like, they will just pump the price, and then there will be, an holy shit moment where from every other country thinking, oh, I'm late, I don't have enough bitcoin, and then the next financial reset in the entire history, and all the future financial resets will be in bitcoin. So this is everything that we needed. This is a stamp that Bitcoin needed, and then, from now on, we just keep our heads down. We keep building better infrastructure, better tools and products. I mean, you guys as Strike are doing that already. I think that is now the challenge of, now we had a government, the most important government in the world, saying Bitcoin is legitimate and we should have it in our reserves. Now, how we can explain to the rest of the 7 billion, 8 billion people in the world, and how we make them using it, is our job, and is your job, and that's what you're doing in such a great way.
That's why we're here. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, this guy, if you run rate the amount of treasuries Tether holds versus the amount of China is selling, you might own more U.S. debt than China by the end of the decade, my friend. Put that in perspective while you go have a coffee. Thank you for coming to the
Jack.
U.S.
Thank you, everyone.